Welcome to the Swiftly Marketplace technology platform, where licensed producers can obtain bindable quotes. This is a brief overview of the key features, so let's jump right in. On this first page, you'll need to identify your role in relationship to the applicant, specifically whether you're a licensed surplus lines broker or a licensed property casualty insurance agent. Let's pick broker. On this next page, you're required to input two pieces of information: the zip code for the risk submission and your broker license number associated with the state of that zip code. As we mouse over, we're reminded that the surplus lines broker license number is not your MPN in most states, but a state-specific license number. If we'd instead chosen agent on the previous screen, we'd see a very similar screen to this one, but obviously asking for your agent license number instead of your broker number. So let's try a zip code we know doesn't work. 90735 is Portland, Oregon. We're told it's ineligible immediately. We could have seen that on the map below. Oregon is not yet eligible. So we'll put in a zip code that does work, Manassas, Virginia, and supply a broker number for Virginia. And in a matter of seconds, it validates, making the limited services agreement available to us, which we've downloaded, and we can review the terms and conditions. Now, if you're just window shopping, you can click and go, but if you're serious about binding a risk, please take some time to read this agreement thoroughly. You have a download button here and a print button here. The agreement is limited in the sense that it pertains to just a single submission or bind. If you do come back again with another submission, we'll validate your license number again at that time, and you'll have to click the limited services agreement again, which will apply to that subsequent submission. So let's click out of this, log in, and off we go. We begin the underwriting submission by selecting the coverage, in this case, business owner's policy or BOP. Now we're into biographical information, and I'll put some fictitious biographical information here. 705 is the area code for Manassas. I do want to put a real email address because there's some really neat features tied to email address. Again, we'll put a fictitious business name here. And now we're into the underwriting questions. As you go through and answer these questions, you may notice these buttons. They are information mouse overs. They'll provide additional detail to the underwriting question immediately to its left. I do want to call attention to the save function. When we press this button, it will default to the email address you've input earlier. You could change that if you wanted to, but in this case we won't. So now a link has been sent to my email address of all of the work, or getting me back to all of the work that I've done before. As well, I can copy a link right here. I'm going to use this copied link and just go right back to see, well, where would this take us? And here we are. We're right back to the beginning of the underwriting questions, but we don't have to input any of the information we've input previously, so we don't lose our work. And now we'll advance to a summary of all of the inputs that we have. This is a preliminary application. The applicant will, of course, have to sign via EverSign the full application post-quote, but this is a necessary step in order to obtain a quote. By clicking, the quote becomes available. Let's review this function here, send link, very similar to the last one. We'll cancel out of that and advance to the quote. In this example, there are 3 bindable coverage options, with links to specimen policies immediately beneath each one. Pricing is based on the limit and deductibles selected above. These can be repriced in real time merely by moving the sliders. This gives you the ability to find numerous permutations of coverage that might work within your client's budget and risk appetite. In this case, coverage A is range bound by minimum and maximum replacement cost values the underwriter is willing to find acceptable. This is probably the best place to hand off to the applicant, since the next 2 steps are signature of a completed application in EverSign by the applicant and secure payment gateway, where the applicant will be required to input a valid credit or debit card to pay and bind coverage. You can hand off via the share quote link by putting in a valid email address. We recommend you also put in your own email address and separate the email addresses with a comma. This will enable you to preserve this quote should you need to go back for any reason. I'll input a valid email so you can see what happens beyond this point. Similar to when you save, in addition to sending an email, you'll have the opportunity to copy a link to the page you just left. When your client clicks on the link in their email, they'll be brought to the quote page you just left, with the sliders in the exact position where you had left them. Please note, your client will have the opportunity to reprice the option presented by moving the sliders. All of these resulting options are bindable. Your client will then be redirected to EverSign. Upon completion, they will be redirected to a summary of the quote option they selected. It contains a link to the secure payment gateway. Finally, payment is confirmed, and a copy of your policy is ready. If for whatever reason your client loses this link, a copy of the link has been sent to the email as part of the application.